Okay. Um, Before I go too far today, there was a comment by a YouTuber who goes by the handle RetroGirl. And by the way, RetroGirl is a pretty good artist. She's doing like speed paints and some basic animation stuff. Looks pretty good. So RetroGirl's comment was, after doing a sketch in OpenTunes, RetroGirl then wanted to create some ink lines, and so used the vector tool on a new layer of that frame, and after like 3 or 4 lines it crashes without saving. Okay, this is what I want to say. A, you're doing some good art, and what you've done animation wise looks pretty good, so don't give up. My advice is this: I've used Clip Studio, I've used Anime Studio, obviously OpenTunes, Krita, Blender, and for me, OpenTunes has been the best option by far in terms of capability and in terms of stability. So now, what you experienced, I don't know what version you're using, but I'm using 1.2.1. I think most of the stuff in this version has propagated out into the main build. When I got this was called OpenTunes Experimental, which was a build by Jeremy Bullock, aka Turtletooth. And I have found this version of OpenTunes to be extremely stable, and a lot of the problems with vector layers, which used to be replete, there were a lot of problems with vector layers. Many of them seem to have been fixed in this version. So, but that doesn't discount the very strong possibility that RetroGirl is in fact using a very recent build of OpenTunes and ran into this problem. So my advice is, just number one, stay away from vector layers. If they're giving you trouble, stay away from them. You're not gonna lose much by doing your ink with Tunes raster levels anyway. In my experience, the siren song of vectors, which really has to do with scalability of your art and the reuse of your assets, it's pretty much a joke, really. You don't get the leverage you thought you were going to get. So I don't know what your reason is for using vectors, but if the vectors are giving you grief, then just don't use the vectors. Well, obviously you can see what I'm doing, and I very rarely use vectors for anything. So apparently that proves that you don't necessarily have to use them. So anyway, that's my advice for RetroGirl, is don't give up on OpenTunes. And the only reason I say that is because, having used so many different applications, I've really learned the hard way that they do all have problems, but OpenTunes is the least egregious of the bunch, the most capable and the least problematic. That doesn't mean it doesn't have problems, it just has fewer problems than most programs. However, having said all that, RetroGirl, if you want to dip your toe cautiously into the animation arena based on what I see you doing, because RetroGirl is, from the video I looked at, it looks like she is using Paint Tool Psi, I think, for her art. So that's interesting because it gives some insight as to how she works. You can see in her speed paints what her sort of methodology is. That methodology does, actually I wish I hadn't done that. That methodology suggests to me that I can see why RetroGirl would be using vectors, number one, because of the way she, by the way, I'm just gonna, just for everyone's enrichment, this is the YouTube channel I'm talking about. So this is RetroGirl who posted a comment on, frankly, a very old video. It's quite an old video, and I assume that she's using a more current version of OpenTunes. But if you look at the art and the speed paints and stuff, I mean, it looks good. I mean, this is a person who's definitely got some talent, and yeah, I think that's Paint Tool Psi, isn't it? Pretty sure that is. And so, again, one thing I see here is oftentimes she's grabbing things and then resizing it after it's been drawn. So I can see where vectors would be appealing, because you want to be able to grab an object that you already sort of drew and, in a sense, cast it in stone and then change it after the fact. Well, you can do that in OpenTunes. You just have to use the selection tool. So basically, I would grab a selection, and now I can resize it, do whatever I want to do with it. The only caveat is that if you want to really keep objects separate and think in terms of objects, then you pretty much need to split things up onto different layers. But she's already doing that anyway. You know, at least from her comment, that's what she was doing, is adding a vector layer over top of a sketch, which I assume was probably a raster layer, just to go ahead and, you know, ink the darn thing. So anyway, I just wanted to address that. I'm gonna post a link to this video after I post it as a response to her comment, to let her know that, you know, just watch this video if you want to get some my opinion or my response to your comment. Because the main thing I want to say to RetroGirl is, it would be great to see you do an animation, because you clearly have talent, and whatever you do would be really cool. I'm sure of that. So, and I can totally relate to the frustration of finding that the tools let you down, and that discourages you from even trying. I mean, I've kind of been through that. It took a long time working with Blender and then Krita, PAP. If you want a really easy, low cost of entry program for animation, try this one, Plastic Animation Paper. It's got some quirks. It's definitely got some quirks, but it's very simple. I mean, you basically can draw your sketch and then ink over it. You can do a blue line process. Sorry, I think I just switched to the eraser inadvertently. Okay, maybe I'm not going to recommend. Oh my gosh. What I'm doing right now is struggling with the hotkeys. So that was a piss poor demonstration. That's funny. Well, the point of the story is there's nothing you can do in that program that you can't do just as well or better in OpenTunes. Nothing. If you look at what you can do in Krita with animation, okay, if you're doing stuff that's simple and just a few layers deep and doesn't require a lot of translations, and you just kind of want to work the old-fashioned way, the way you would in Clip Studio, which is just frame-by-frame animation, then Krita is okay. But I'll say again, there's nothing you can do in Krita that involves animation that you can't do just as well or better in OpenTunes. Blender Grease Pencil. There's almost nothing you can do, in the Blender Grease Pencil that you can't do just as well or better in OpenTunes. And I spent a year fiddling. I literally spent all of 2018 dicking around with these software tools, trying to figure out what their capabilities are and, you know, where they break. And so this same thing keeps coming back again and again. Whatever I can do in XYZ program, I can do just as well or better in OpenTunes. 99. So that's why I keep coming back to OpenTunes. You know, and for a while there, you know, I kind of came back kicking and screaming because there were a lot of problems that I found were frustrating me with OpenTunes as well. But I'm doing this little diatribe over top of this inking session because I really want to emphasize to RetroGirl that it took a long time of trying different programs and dealing with the bugs and dealing with the problems. It took a lot of experimentation to draw the firm conclusion that whatever this or that program can do, OpenTunes can do as well or better. Keep saying that because it's a fact that I learned almost against my will, because honestly I remember posting a YouTube video probably at least a year ago or close to it where, well, actually I think it's the video that RetroGirl commented on, where the title of the video was I Can't Trust OpenTunes. You know, at that point I was wanting to use it, and I was at the point of giving up and going, geez, you know, forget it. What happens is with some programs like Blender, let's take Blender Grease Pencil. Blender Grease Pencil is very, very, very stable. I'm not talking about Blender 2.8, I'm talking about 2.7.9, okay? The last stable official release of Blender. The Grease Pencil is extremely stable. I can't even remember the last time I crashed it. So if you want to do basic, you want to do pencil tests, if you want to do inking, as long as you're careful to make sure you get your shapes closed, and certainly if you want to bring in imagery in the background, you know, tracing images or whatever, geez, learn the Blender Grease Pencil. Well, okay, Dave, why aren't you using the Blender Grease Pencil? Because when it comes time to do ink and paint, and some of the stuff I've talked about the last couple days, like managing your palettes and colors and how that is all implemented, it's no contest. OpenTunes kicks Blender's hiney in a big way. Absolutely kicks it. There's no contest. All the rudiments of it are there in Blender, but they're not really implemented well enough, and I think that may improve with 2.8, but you know, you can't count on it. So, you know, you have to just wait and wait and wait. After all, how long has 2.8 been? We'll put it this way: how long has it been since they announced that it was coming? It's been at least a couple years now. I mean, you know, this has been going on a long time. I'm not saying that's a bad thing. I mean, it's cool, but I guess the point of this story is that the cost. Okay, let's go down the list one by one. Okay. If I'm an artist and I want to do animation, okay, where do I start? Right now, if you're into anime, which RetroGirl is, you're probably going to gravitate to Clip Studio, I would expect, because Clip Studio is really it's the one program that's out there that seems to be actually being adopted in Japan for production work. It's a pretty mature program. And all of the painting capabilities kind of propagate over to animation. Now, what Clip Studio lacks, at least the last time I checked, when it comes to animation, is the okay. And let me say this: if you go to and I've used Clip Studio, I have a copy of Clip Studio. I haven't gotten very far from it because I find myself fighting with the interface like a lot. But that's not really an indictment of the program. I mean, that's probably just, I happen to, maybe be used to working a certain way, and Clip Studio and I don't really see eye to eye on how the interface should work. That's not a big deal. So that's not a comment about the capability of Clip Studio. My sense is that it's actually very capable, but it's not free. And of course, OpenTunes doesn't do you any good being free if it crashes on you, right? Open source software is no benefit unless it's better. It can't just be cheaper. It needs to be better, right? Ideally. Okay, so basic pros and cons with Clip Studio. I should actually make a video just about this, just like a review of modern 2D applications and what their pros and cons are. Clip Studio, great for painting and drawing. None of this. This ability that you have in OpenTunes to structure and link layers so that they both from a connection and parenting standpoint, and also from the standpoint of inserting effects for color correction and that sort of thing. You see here, if I'm going to add an effect, okay, if I was going to add an effect here, I mean, you got 100 quadzillion different effects for, blurs, distortions, gradients, image adjustments, like curves, and the post processing capability in OpenTunes is better than some node-based compositors. I mean, it's pretty amazing. Okay, I've got a little problem here because I'm blabbing and painting at the same time. So Clip Studio, none of that. You're not going to get any of that with Clip Studio as far as I can tell. Now, there are effects, just like, in GIMP you can use curves or add effects to your art, and they can either be destructive or you can have what Photoshop calls adjustment layers, but they're basically, there's definitely ways to set it up so you get all kinds of post-processing effects in GIMP. I'm sure you can do that in Clip Studio too. So probably from a painterly standpoint, from the standpoint of being able to paint whatever you want, Clip Studio is probably amazing, actually. Animation wise, you can't, as far as I know, you can't parent one layer to another so that it inherits its movement and that sort of stuff. Basically, the stuff you bump into once your project gets beyond really, really simple is the stuff that, in my view, Clip Studio doesn't do all that well. Now, if you want to embrace, okay, let's take. I'll give you an example. Example would be a camera move. How are you going to do a camera move? There's two ways to do a camera move. Well, there's three actually, or more. But let's just say, for the sake of argument, you want to do a camera move. It's a really good example of the big difference between a program like OpenTunes and like almost any other program you're going to use. Okay, if I have character A and we're going to have a scenario where the camera is going to push in. Okay, so the camera is going to push in towards this guy. Okay, this is such a good example of why OpenTunes works for me and XYZ program doesn't. With Clip Studio, you could do it this way. You could say, well, let me take my, and by the way, I'm going to erase this just so we don't have to look at it. Okay, here's the first way. Okay, turn on my onion skins and draw my guy bigger. Okay, then draw my guy bigger. Okay, and draw my guy bigger. Alright, let's turn the onion skins off. We'll do so this is a 4-frame progression. Okay, did the camera push in? Yep, the camera pushed in. And I will tell you that this is a very organic, old school way to do a camera move. And it does, I mean, there's plenty of anime where, you know, that's how they do it. They draw every frame. Okay, and that's one utterly and completely legit way to do a camera move. Okay, is it the best way? Well, what about this? What if I wanted to get some leverage here? Okay, let's do it this way. I don't want to keep redrawing this guy over and over. So what I'm going to do now is I'm going to go D, D, D. Okay, and now what I'm going to do is scale this up. Okay. Alright, let's take a look at that. Okay, so now that's a camera move too. 1, 2, 3. Is this one more interesting? Arguably, yes. Okay. Is this one interesting enough? Arguably, yes. Okay, is there yet another way? Well, there is. Control C. Oopsie poo. Didn't mean to do that. I'm going to go Control V. And I'm going to hit the Animate tool. And I'm going to scale it. And I'm going to go from here to here and go like that. Okay, there you go. Now you've got, by using the Animate tool, you've got a camera move. So this third way, as far as I know, you can't do in a program like Clip Studio Paint. And guess what? You can't in Krita either. This ability to do translation of your character, and by the way, you can get into all kinds of, you know, you could go, if you wanted to make this more interesting, you could, you know, introduce some motion, you know, introduce more activity in the drawing. Okay. And now, here's the thing you really can't do with Krita or Clip Studio Paint. Okay, I put a hat on my character. Alright. Well, now there's a problem, as you can see. Well, in OpenToons, it's not a problem. All I have to do is go in and link column 4 to column 3. That's it. And now column 4 follows the translation of column 3. So that simple example, that seems so simple actually, but yet Krita can't do it. Clip Studio Paint can't do it. The Blender grease pencil would be able to do it, but you got to learn a whole new way of thinking because you're working in a 3D space, and so you're having to add empties and then parent your layers to the empties, and there's a lot of kind of hazards that go with that. But as you can see, in OpenToons, it's like brain dead. It's easy to set up fairly complex. Well, let's give another example. I'll give one more example, and then I'll get back to my regular work. Same thing if this guy has an arm. Okay, now obviously if we're going to do puppet animation, you would want to articulate his arm in more than one piece. You'd want 2 or even 3 pieces. Okay? In fact, you know what? I'll show you. I'll show you exactly what I'm talking about. I'm going to go here. Grab this. Paste that. Okay, and now I'm going to grab this. Control X. Hit the B key. Paste that. Okay, so now I'm going to hit the A key. I'm just showing you. The reason I'm showing this is because if you want to work this way, and judging again from RetroGirl's art, I'm thinking maybe RetroGirl would want to work this way. This is what you want to do. I just took the hand and I set its center. Now I'm taking the forearm and I'm setting its center. Now I'm taking the upper arm and I'm setting its center. Okay. Now I'm going into here. And column 7 is the hand, which is parented, or it becomes the child of column 6. Column 5 is the upper arm, and then that would be parented to that if I'm not mistaken. Now, because the very first did I parent this to 4? I think I did. It needs to be parented to 3, not 4. Simple mistake. So column 5 should be parented to 3. My bad. It should be parented to the body, not the hat. Okay, so now we can go here. Just make a little adjustment. Okay, and I'm just gonna go into rotation mode. Okay, so now what's interesting about this is not only can I go in here and set up complex puppet animation, like let's extend these down. So again, I reiterate, this is merely an example of what is quite difficult to do in other programs. Okay, and by the way, there's other techniques for example, hiding the joints, in a puppet animation, which you can find online. But now another thing that's interesting about that is I can go to the middle here and go ahead and select the skeleton tool and put it in inverse kinematics mode, and now I can grab the hand and control the whole rig. right? But see, you can't even dream about doing that in a lot of programs. A good implementation of inverse kinematics is, that's a program that's been around for a while, that the developers have been working on for quite a while. So anyway, like I said, this is just an example. You do have the ability to combine different types of animation. Obviously, in this case, it looks that didn't work, but yeah, you can combine them in creative ways, so that you add lip sync, which is frame by frame animation, to what is otherwise a puppet style animation. And for certain types of anime, and certainly a lot of your primetime cartoons that you see in the U.S., like Family Guy or whatever, this type of puppet animation is really a good way to work. And then I guess the last thing I would say to RetroGirl, as if I would ever actually stop talking, is that obviously this project is very, very complex, and it's not like it's crashing. What I've been finding lately with this version of OpenTunes is it crashes maybe once a day. It just doesn't crash that often. It's been really, really stable. But again, I'm not really using vectors either. So, all right, back to work. The B key and actually the S key. I'm going to grab this, Control C. Actually, before I do that, let me check here. Yeah, I think that's right. Okay. So now I cut and pasted that because this guy's moving. Yeah, this guy's moving and the other guy's not. So, uh-oh. See, there's an OpenTunes quirk. It jumped to the default brush when I switch tools. Is that necessarily a jailing offense? I don't think so. I think it's more of a misdemeanor than a felony. But it is annoying. But again, every other program I've tried has been more annoying. So it's not that OpenTunes can't be annoying. It's that everything else is more annoying. And that's how you pick. Use the least annoying tool. No, it's once you get through the learning curve with OpenTunes, what I've found is there's almost nothing you can't, whatever you envision in your mind you'd like to create, you can find a way to do it in OpenTunes. And even when it crashes, like yesterday, due to some very dumb things that I did, experimenting with different aspects of my workflow, caused me to lose some work, and I had to restore it from a backup. So, things can definitely go wrong from time to time. Alt key. Oopsie poo. I guess the upshot for me then is that what I've found is that OpenTunes has proven itself to be worth the pain of the learning curve. So, and there aren't very many programs I can say that for, especially in the animation arena. So, RetroGirl's frustration with animation programs is very well founded. It's amazing how many projects there are out there that people started and just never were able to get it to the usability point. Like what's the Marevna projects program? Software. And by the way, kudos to the Marevna people for the fact that they are actually creating an animation. But yeah, Synfig. Synfig Studio has been, I don't even know how long they've been working on this open source 2D animation software, but years and years and years. And I've about once a year I download the latest version and try it, and you know, kudos to them for all their effort, but basically I've found it to be utterly unusable. Not even, it doesn't even get to, you know, the 10% point. That's my opinion. Sorry. Oh, it's very rare that a tool is such a pleasant surprise that you just that's really satisfying. And OpenTunes has sort of come through for me in that respect. Not without a fair amount of pain, though. I mean, I definitely, there was a time not that long ago when I was really sure that this was like the stupidest program ever. And I found out that I was wrong. And this is true of a lot of software. You have to really work with it and learn the interface and yada yada yada. You know, don't judge too harshly too quickly. Blender sure is that way. That's always been true. Everyone, has always commented, of course, on the Blender interface because it's, they rolled their own interface. I say they, it was really Tan who did it. Tan's a great guy, great programmer, smart guy. That works. Okay. I'm just going to keep on cranking. So, I didn't really expect I'd use this entire, oh my gosh, 38 minutes talking to RetroGirl, but the reason I did it is that RetroGirl, here's a kid probably. I mean, I don't know how old this person is, but my guess is they're probably on the young-ish side. Clearly has some ability and wants to do this. Wants to take her talent and put it to work creating something cool, And you always want to encourage that. And when somebody is, willing to put in the time, you just don't want to get discouraged prematurely when your software acts stupid, which, by the way, it definitely will. Do. And the other thing I do is I hit Control S fairly frequently. Yeah, you want to save your work, as I like to say. Save early, save often. It seems like every single time like I could be working and it won't crash, you know, all day long. And then the minute I really get in the zone and start getting into a part that I think is really cool and I'm really having fun, that's when it'll crash and I'll lose the work. Now there's an upside to that. It seems like, and this actually happened yesterday with the work I lost, and then I pulled it in from a backup. And after going through that, the stuff I had to redo, which wasn't much, but what I had to redo looked better than what I had in the first place. I can't remember if I did the bags of his eyes with the red. Yeah, I guess I did. Cool. So when you have to redo stuff, it almost always comes out a little better, so it's not that big of a tragedy. But it can be a bit of a tragedy, definitely. Alright, what about the... Yeah, that's what I thought. Okay. E key. Okay. Alright, trying to keep it as accurate as possible from pose to pose. That looks pretty good. Oh, can't forget about this guy. Now, before I go too far... Okay. Yeah, it looks like I'll be reusing... I wonder if that guy's expression changed. It didn't. Okay, so that means what I'm about to draw, I'm going to be able to cut and paste and reuse quite a few times. This guy. Cool. Alrighty then. We're rocking and rolling. So I hope I haven't bored everyone. I guess, you know, there is an agenda today in what I've been saying, which is that, and I think this is probably going to get stronger in me with time as I continue to use OpenTunes and continue to do what I hope is professional, high-quality work. What I want to say is that there are quite a few programs out there that claim to be for doing this kind of work. Toon Boom. And okay, that was a little problematic, wasn't it? TV Paint. TV Paint's another one. I think that Clip Studio and TV Paint are actually the two that seem to probably, I can't say this authoritatively, but just from little things I've picked up here and there, I think that TV Paint and Clip Studio are the two applications that have gotten some traction in the world of anime as far as actually being used for real world productions. People talk about OpenTunes having been used by Studio Ghibli, but you know, they used it for processing scans. I mean, I don't think it was ever a core like what I'm doing. I don't think they were doing the stuff on paper. I'm really sure. I mean, don't quote me on that, but I'm pretty sure that's true. Okay, this should be under all, and what I'm going to do is I'm just going to give this a border. Just give it a border, man. Okay, so my point was that every application requires a painful learning curve and has bugs and issues. However, the more I use OpenTunes, the more I find that it has fewer problems, fewer issues than virtually any other application I could name. I think if I was going to tell somebody to get into the commercial space, you know, choose an animation tool that you're going to use for professional work, that's going to be well accepted in your professional community as you go forward, I'm guessing it would probably be TV Paint. And TV Paint is definitely a program like OpenTunes and even more like Blender where you're going to have to learn a completely brand new interface that you're not used to. It is what it is. Because TV Paint, they rolled their own. It's like Blender. It's a lot like Blender. They rolled their own interface. And TV Paint's also like OpenTunes in the sense that at first the interface seems inscrutable and it can seem really frustrating. But I think like OpenTunes, TV Paint is the program where you're going to find out that whatever it is you want to do, there's a way to do it. The capability is always there. Sometimes you have to search a little bit to figure out, how to accomplish that, this or that, whatever it is you want to do. But at the end of the day, you'll be able to do it. I think that's pretty true with TV Paint. And it also is a very, very stable program. It's a mature program. It's been around for a lot of years. And they seem to have gotten most of the bugs out. And when they do an update, it seems to be a legit feature release. And you know what? And it's not a bad deal. Frankly, TV Paint's going to set you back about $1,000. If you're going to be an honest person and buy the full commercial version of it, yada yada yada, $1,000. And that makes you, a member for life, if I'm not mistaken. In other words, you're only going to pay for it one time. It's not like you're paying every time there's an update and yada yada yada. I'm pretty sure that's true with TV Paint. And so a one-time cost of $1,000, that's nothing. But is it going to give me more than I'm getting with OpenTunes? Right now, at this exact moment, my sense is not at all. I can't imagine what I could do in OpenTunes I can't imagine what I could do in TV Paint that I couldn't do in OpenTunes. And there's certainly nothing I could do in TV Paint that I couldn't do using the combination of OpenTunes, Blender, Krita, GIMP, and Inkscape, all open source programs. All well worth learning to use as well. They're just, they're mature. I've been using GIMP for 10 years. I've never been a Photoshop guy. I have Photoshop. I actually think Photoshop 5 was pretty good, and once it went to the whole CS thing, I kind of lost interest. But and the cloud-based, everything's cloud-based now with Adobe. I can totally see why they went that direction. I think they did it at the right time. I just don't necessarily want my software vendor to be on my machine, always pushing updates, pushing in the sense, not in a negative, I don't mean that pejoratively, but pushing in the sense that I don't have to do anything. It just silently updates behind the scenes. The reason I don't like that is because, as likely as not, pushed updates introduce new problems that didn't exist before the update. That happens all the time. Bad move here. I'm supposed to be overall, not under. Overall with the black marker and under with the red. Alright, I'm going to actually try to parallel this sketch as closely as I can and see if it works. Okay, so what I mean by that is I'm leaving these shapes are pretty vague in terms of like her anatomy and whatnot. But I'm thinking that if I leave it loose like that, it's gonna it's going to look fine. It's, in other words, you're not going to think about it. If you saw this and it goes by about that fast, you're not thinking about the anatomy of her arm. Okay, you're thinking about her, her attention and these bad guys in the background, especially if you lit it in such a way that you have a little bit of a highlight here and a little bit of a highlight on these guys, which, by the way, as a post-production process, again, is really easy to do in OpenTunes. So yeah, so that was the point for RetroGirl, is don't throw out OpenTunes because of one bad experience. Believe me, I've had 1,000 bad experiences with OpenTunes. And some programs, you have the bad experience, and the bad experience leads you to learn that this software is poorly implemented, full of bugs, etc. And then other times you have a bad experience, and if you get through it by reading the manuals and getting some tutorials and blah blah blah, you find out, well, the problem is I lacked knowledge. There's stuff I didn't know how to do. I wasn't really doing things the way the software expected me to, and or I bumped headlong into an area that just happens to be a little on the buggy side. So some software, like Blender, is a great example of this. If you're willing to put in the time, you find out it's, in the long run, it doesn't really let you down. It's really solid software, but you have to sort of learn its way of doing things. That's Blender, that's OpenTunes. Frankly, it's probably most software. I mean, I would have to say, now that I'm sort of blabbing on and on about it, that when you run into issues with software, more often than not, as I stated in a video I posted, it's usually more of a knowledge problem than it is a software stability problem. Not always, but I think more often than not. And so the difficulty is confidence. Do I have enough confidence that this program is going to turn out to be pretty good, that I'm willing to spend the hours and hours and hours to learn its way of doing things, so that I can get some work done? Or am I going to put in all that time and then be disappointed to discover that it's actually a bug-ridden piece of, blankety blank? The only way you can get the answer to that question in advance is to talk to somebody who knows. So that's why I, again, posted this with an eye toward responding to RetroGirl. Okay, so I'm going to do this a little bit more symbolically. Actually, ooh, that went too far. Kind of learning to do this. I'm learning how to draw these characters with much less detail and just suggest the features with just a simple little line, or like that, like right there. That just made him look a little more intense. Yeah, I've definitely been learning how to imply detail more than explicitly draw it, and frankly, it makes the art better. It's like the best painters are a little bit impressionistic. They know how to suggest what they're portraying, and then your brain sort of fills in the gaps. I find that a lot of the art that I like tends to be like that. It's impressionistic, and it suggests details, and And then, like I said, your brain just fills it in. It's always cool when that happens. Okay, so the idea here is probably obvious, but is that these guys are standing at the ready quite confidently. Actually, this suggestive idea of art is kind of what you just saw me do. It's actually easier for me to put in a line that I know is going to be in there that sort of suggests where the other lines are going to go to sort of connect things up. And I find more and more I work that way. Okay, I don't like this. I just want to move that down a little bit. Okay. Alright, we better close this up. And we better close this up. And we better give him his little neck piece, too. I guess this guy should have that as well. Okay. Okay, it looks like nothing changes except the Akari's head. That's it. So I'm gonna just make sure these lines are closed. Oh yeah, there's an issue there. I'm sure, actually, speaking of Blender, I have a feeling the way I'm working right now, when it comes time to paint, I'm probably going to run into a lot of issues that I ran into when I used Blender for ink in terms of having little gaps and stuff that I just didn't notice before. Like, as I look around here, there's kind of a lot of them. So, you know, welcome to the real world. The more you have fun, sadly, and the more you really get into it and get moving quickly, the more you introduce issues that are going to bite you later. It just is what it is. Is it worth it? Yeah, pretty much. Pretty much. Yeah, it looks pretty good, but like there's a great example. I think that would probably fill, but you never know. Okay. So, S key, Control A, Control C, and actually, you know what? Pause that. Let's go back. Let's do this again. S, but what I'm going to do is I'm going to just draw around. This is the nice thing about using the selection key for cheating is, well, it's selective. Okay, B key. Now let's get in here and get back to doodling. Okay. Yeah, that line doesn't make any sense at all. Okay. Boom, boom, boom. Boom. Okay, I'll draw that one line in with the red marker. Actually, I wonder if I should do a... I think so. I think so. Alright, I like it. Okay, so red marker, hairline, essentially hairline there as well. Here we probably should have a black line. Okay, not bad, not bad, not bad. And we want to have a little bit here. And then what we want to do is basically make it so that when it's filled, the color stops where it's supposed to. So, okay, nice. All right. Okay, so as long as we're gonna cheat, let's cheat. I think that just on principle alone, I probably should cut and paste this guy, but let me see. Yeah, that's the same angle there. So I'm gonna do an override. What I'm gonna do actually is shrink this down a little bit, put it up there, and then I'll go ahead and finish him just so I can cut and paste it again into other places. So what I'm going to do is make my eraser really big so that I can erase the sketch. The sketch is not helping me at this point. I got this song by Rare Earth in my mind today called Get Ready. Get ready, 'cause here I come. I might have I heard it on the radio. I was in the crapmobile driving somewhere, and this song came on. I'm like, well, you know, it's an interesting song because it's a group, all white guys, but their sound was very Motown. In fact, after the song was on the radio, the jock even said, you know, here's sounds of Motown from Rare Earth. I'm like, Rare Earth doesn't seem like that's really a Motown group. I don't know. Maybe they were on the Motown label. But yeah, they were white guys doing Motown. So apparently, there's not like a rule that says you have to be a person of color to create music that's Motownish. Okay, that's kind of okay. Wow, been going for an hour here today. Well, that's okay. Why, that's half the fun. Half the fun. So anyway, RetroGirl, don't give up on OpenTunes. OpenTunes loves you. OpenTunes wants to be part of your life. I'm kidding. Do what you want. If you don't want to use OpenTunes, don't use OpenTunes. But if you're going to use OpenTunes, I would stay away from vectors. Stay away from the vectors. The vectors. They will curse you. They will get you. They will destroy your life. Your life will be destroyed by the vectors. Okay. Fill in the gaps. I'm just doing this because it's an approach I seem to be doing more and more of. Bam. Well, the other thing cool in OpenTunes is I can just hit the 4 and the 5 key, and it'll toggle between these palette entries, which is quite convenient. Although, to be honest, I haven't actually been doing that. I've been clicking. I've been doing it the Macintosh way, which is click, 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 click. Everything's a click. Everything's a menu. No shortcut keys. That's not true, obviously. You can use a Macintosh with shortcut keys. Boom. Boom. Okay. Feeling pretty good about that. I'm still maintaining this idea that we're going to do eyebrows just over top. That's the plan. That's the plan, man. Gosh, there's a lot of art of color here, isn't there? There is. A lot of art to color. But how lucky that I get to spend my time creating fun things, you know? I guess I must be the luckiest guy in the world. Or at least in the USA. Oopsie poo. That's not gonna fly. I'm gonna have to. Oh wait, I gotta insist that I do this. Okay, I wanna flip the canvas because if I did it in this direction, it would be kind of easy. What's interesting about this, actually, now that I look at it, is how amazingly lopsided it is. So I'm gonna take this, hit the control key, drag this over. So here you go, RetroGirl. This is an example of what you can do in OpenTunes in terms of sculpting your art after the fact, after you've drawn it. Definitely quite doable. Okay, so I'm going to just hit the G key and use the arc tool. Because why not? Click, 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 click. Alright, and now I can even do this. I don't know if this is actually going to work, but I'm going to try it. I'm going to go like that. Just tighten that line up a little bit. Click, click. Okay, that didn't work. Click, click, click. That did. Okay, back to the B key. And we'll make this guy very wide-eyed. Like that. He's definitely going to have this going on. Okay, so last night when I crashed, I decided I'm gonna watch some anime. And what did I watch? I watched Kill la Kill. That's a fun show. Well, what I'm doing right now, they have a lot of in Kill la Kill. Is these, you know, shading that's actually just sketchy kind of thing. Alright. I love the I think it's Yoshinaro. I'm sorry, I should look this up so I don't botch the guy's name. Yosh. Yeah. Yoshinari. Yoshinari. Yeah, I mean, this is a guy who was heavily involved with Gurren Lagann, Little Witch Academia, and then Kill la Kill. That team of creatives have done some. It's not. I won't say it's a definitive style that I'm dying to emulate. I think it has its place. It's a little too sketchy for a lot of projects. So I've also been watching Gintama lately, and that I have to say is probably aesthetically closer to what we would be shooting for on this show, you know. Okay. How did I do that? Okay, I see. I skipped ahead instead of behind. So I thought we had 2 frames of this. Guess not. Okay, that's fine. So let's just get this guy in there. Boom. 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 Okay. Gotta zoom in a bit here. Okay. Might as well just get these lines in there right now because I know I'm going to need them. Oh, I did not mean to hit the zoom tool. Okay. All right. I think we're going to have some effects here somewhere that are kind of that sort of thing, but we'll come back to that. That's not something we need to get figured out right now. Okay. I see what's going on. This fella, and probably most of this guy's clothing. Okay. That didn't quite work. But I think I can fix it. Watch this. I think I can fix this. Nope, that needs to stay there. Oh, come on. Stupid mouse. Okay. I hate that. Well, I told you that even OpenTunes has bugs, and they're it doesn't let go of the mouse all that predictably sometimes. Okay, but that's fine. That got me to where I needed to be. So, ba-dum, 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 ba-dum. Mm-mm, 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 mm-mm. I think I want to make a slight modification of his goatee from what I have in the rough. I feel like it's a little too high. Get that. Boom, boom. Close that. Shoot, darn it. I need to be careful that I run into the lines and not under them. Boom, boom, boom. Here we go. Got that. And we got to get that. Alright. I think we're in good shape. Let's double check by going boop. Yeah. So you can see how important the eyebrows are. Okay, that's a problem. I think I must be in selective mode. I am, yeah. Selective mode for the eraser makes it so the eraser only erases lines for the palette entry that's currently selected. It seems that in practice you can pretty much leave it on most of the time, and that's going to give you the result you're usually after, because I'm usually specifically wanting to erase colors from a specific, specific colors as opposed to everything. Okay, how do we want to do this? I think we want to go like that, like that, like that. Let's see. Okay, so the hair would actually be falling below. And although it's very tempting to deal with her eyebrows, I'm going to stick to my guns. Stick to my guns. That's a very American phrase, isn't it? I wonder if anybody says that in other lands. Stick to my guns. Stick to my plan, as it were. And refuse to get specific about the eyebrows until later when we do paint. Okay, so what I wanted to do here is basically create this idea that there's tears falling, but I don't want it to have big bold outlines around it, right? So yep. Shoot a mile. B key 5. Alright. Probably that should be filled in just to be safe. Looks like my shapes are all closed except for this one. Alright. That's pretty good. And I wonder if... Yes. Cool. Alright. I'm going to tell you that her eyes are too high on her head right here. I'm just going to go ahead and grab this whole section and lower them. Absolutely. Okay. Let's doodle. Get ready, 'cause here I come. Get ready, 'cause here I come. Another, actually I guess I need to do a little erasure right there. Another interesting Motowny type song I heard on the radio was called Ain't That Peculiar. Can't remember who did it. I guess I have a certain affinity for Motown. Boom. Now this is the moment where Akari is realizing, much to her chagrin, that Zen may be in deep, deep, deep trouble, and she may in fact be, more or less, on her own. Okay. Fee, fi, fo, fo, fum. Look out now, 'cause here I come. Alright, boom. It seems to me that these three fellas, seems like I drew them wide another time. Aha! Is it this shot? Let's see if we can do some theft. Let's go ahead and grab this. It just doesn't make sense to repaint and repaint and redraw if you don't have to. Okay. And then what I'm going to do is okay. Don't need this guy in the foreground. Oops. My bad. Okay. Now, just for fun, I want to change his expression a little bit, and also fix the drawing slightly while I'm in the process. Boom. Okay. And maybe let's see. This guy's anchored there. Oh, come on. I hate that when you click and it loses track of the click. So then you have to redo your selection. Okay. Pretty straightforward. I'm assuming at this point that Akari does not have mega long fingernails. Okay, it's kind of implied that this finger's still curled around, but if that's the case, it would have to be a little shorter, wouldn't it? So yeah, this kind of stuff's, you know, it's tricky to draw accurately without reference, which in this case I arguably was being a dummy and I really didn't have any reference for this. And as I keep going through and doing more and more, I keep telling myself I need to find some reference, and I keep not doing it. Why would that be? What's wrong with you, son? Oopsie poo. Alright. Pull out there, Jack. Pull out. Let's take up. We want the. Okay, I have to click. As far as I've ever been able to tell, if you invoke the arc tool and don't finish creating an arc, it will not let go of the mouse. Yet another example of something that's not really a jailing offense, but can be a bit of a source of irritation every once in a while. I like the arc tool. I think the arc tool is actually super useful. And it just lets me give a little different shading without any lines within the whoopsie poo. Within the sword. Okay, so I assume there'd be some sort of grippies around there. Okay. Okay. Well, I'm gonna overrule the sketch, because the sketch implies some twinky winkies on the sword hilt, and I've decided no, this is going to be a purely utilitarian hilt, meaning it's there to protect your hands End of story. Now, the fact that her thumb is up in this area is kind of ridiculous. Because obviously that makes your thumb exposed, and the whole point of the hilt of the sword is to protect your hands. So, again, not necessarily a felony. But one could argue that it's a slight flaw. Let me see here. I mean, okay, it's probably alright. This goes... whenever I get chimpy on my work, I always say, well, this is only going to be on the screen for a short period of time. But it's true. It's true, people. It's true. This is going to be boom, boom, boom. And plus, this shot could be animated. Alright, so this one's is in fact going to be on the screen a fairly short period of time. That is the truth. Yeah, so this is like the stupidest sword design ever. I know that. I don't need you to tell me that. Don't post a comment saying, by the way, Dave, it's like the stupidest sword design ever. 'Cause I already know. I already know it stinks. Not as... It doesn't stink as bad as that wrist that I just drew. You know, so again, this is a case of something that's gonna bop onto the screen just for a second. It's just a transitional. I mean, geez, frankly, the problems in her thumbnail are worse. You know, like the fact that this poor girl has man hands. We don't want Akari to have man hands, do we? Man hands is, I think, it probably wasn't coined by the writers of Seinfeld, but I'm sure that as a cultural thing, it probably gained traction with Seinfeld, the idea of man hands. I think there was some girl Jerry was dating, and they went on a date, and when she, you know, he just notices her hands all of a sudden and realizes this girl has like the hands of a man. Really meaty. You know what I'm saying. Okay, again, being a little stupid on the anatomy there. Okay. Yep. So we're going to grab this, Control C, Control V. There we go. Okay. So this is falling, and one could argue that the blade seems to be somewhat on the short side. Meh. Oh, come on, really? Let's go back and do that one more time, folks. Grabby poo, Control C, next frame, S key. That's where I went wrong. Yep. Cool. Erase. I will say that that must be... If this actually happened, that would probably imply that this sword weighs about 300 pounds, because there's no way it would go that deeply into the floor, would it? No, it wouldn't. But again, bending reality is half the fun of doing anime, isn't it? We can just make up our own rules. I don't like this. I'm going to erase this. And actually, I'm going to do something that I maybe have never done before. I'm going to hit the G key and use the ellipse tool. Look at that. Then I'm going to grab the ellipse, bring it over here, actually size it up a little bit, rotate it till it feels about right. You know what the heck? That's fine. Boom. Boom. Okay. Okay, so now we got these guys pulling out our S key. And let's paste these guys in there. Okay, that works. Oh man, an hour and 37 minutes. Holy crap. I must say, I've been a busy little beaver this morning, haven't I? Busy little beaver. Well, I'll tell you what I'm going to do. I am going to finish up this drawing of the lovely and gracious and inspiring Akari. And by the way, same thing as before. I have to... Yeah. I always have this tendency to put her eyes too high on her face. Like, all the time. There we go. Nope, that doesn't work. You can't be too sloppy about these things. Alright, pull out. Now it looks pretty darn good. I always start making these stupid sound effects when I'm close to being done for the session, because at least that's just an observation, because I think I did the same thing yesterday. Started going boom, 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 boom. Okay. What about her lovely eyes? Alright, going to color number 5. You know what? I'm not going to put that in there. If I do that, I'm gonna do it just as a touch up later with the shadow layer. However, these zones do need to be filled in. Okay. What do you think? I think it looks alright. These guys need to be extended just a skosh. Okay, that was sloppy. Actually, I'm gonna zoom in, baby, so you can see what you're doing. There seems to be a bit of a weirdness right there. Okay. And I'm gonna say probably. Now, right now, you're going, wait a second, Dave. You said you were gonna stop. I thought you said you were gonna stop. Was being the operative term. I was going to stop. Okay, so this is actually a really good sign. If I'm having so doggone much fun that I don't want to quit, this takes us back to the beginning of our conversation today. In that, when I've experienced, okay, I better do a cut and paste on this one. When I've experienced what RetroGirl has experienced, where a piece of software has frustrated me, I have a definite proclivity to be like, oh, heck with it. I just don't want to do this at all. This is just no fun, you know, that sort of thing. And sometimes you just have to get through the learning curve. The learning curve, I say. So what I was trying to say, I think, was that if I'm actually enjoying the work so much that I don't, you know, really want to quit, that's probably a good sign. Because believe me, I get bored easily. And if a tool is annoying to me because of stuff that seems stupid, I don't have tons and tons of patience for that. Yeah, like that's a surprise. Anybody who's heard my rants against like the Blender grease pencil and early rants against, frankly, OpenTunes, and certainly my biggest rant, I think, was probably against Krita. Okay, so what am I trying to say? I'm saying that if I think the tool is kind of dumb, I go into rant mode. OpenTunes almost never puts me in rant mode anymore. And there are very few tools of which I can say that. Looks pretty good. Gotta go back to this brush. And we'll just close that up for now. Okay, so now this one's bugging me as well because, gosh, didn't we... Okay, we got 405A. Okay. So what we're looking for is the wider shot. But by the way, there's the wider shot. 381. Okay. Yes. Actually, I was correct. So the question is, why would this not be 381? Well, it looks like that's why. Okay. Correcto. So what we actually want to do here is grab almost everything and then come down here to 382, paste it in, except we want this. Control C. Okay. Yeah, this guy's expression is not really quite working for me. So, Control V, or sorry, we want to hit the S key, then Control V. And actually, I think, since we're on a different shot here, I think these guys should be relieved of their pupils. I think these guys should look eerily anonymous here in the background. Like so. Okay, that didn't quite work. Alright. So now, Mr. Not so very super mega nice guy right? Did I just call him Mr. Not So Super Mega Nice Guy? What kind of a name is that for a villain? Now, the thing that's bugging me here is it just seems like I have this drawing of this guy somewhere. Okay, so there he's got the... you know what? I'm going to redraw him. I'm just going to do it. B... Let's go to the N key so we're getting the actual pixel for pixel representation. So yeah, I will say that for me to be sitting here pushing 2 hours and not be like sick of it and ready to take a break is kind of unusual. So it's definitely a testament to the I guess the tool and the workflow and the concept. The animation itself is sufficiently engaging that yeah, it's just proving to be kind of fun. Okay, so I'm going to go ahead and do this on this drawing. Haven't done this yet, but I think it is apropos. Mm-hmm. Wait, did I do that? Oh, this is embarrassing. I should remember this, but I don't. 382. Actually, let's just do it this way. Yep. Question answered. Too much. Boom, ba boom, boom, boom. Boom, ba boom, boom, boom. Boom, 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 boom. We are Santa's elves. Yeah. What's that from? Rudolph the Red-Nosed Reindeer? We are Santa's elves. We are Santa's elves. Blah, 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 blah. We are Santa's elves. Okay. Now, this is actually... we're coming into a tricky sequence here. And I may also have to go in and add some red lines or some other auto paint lines along this on his costume to make coloring it simpler when the time comes. Okay. Now, frankly, I'm probably going to have to erase his mouth later too when I do the lip sync. Okay, that's ridiculous. Got to turn my hand a different way in order to get this. One thing I've been trying to train myself to do is to not be needy as an artist, in the sense that I can draw things from all different angles. I don't have to keep flipping the canvas and you know, wrenching around in different configurations in order to draw what I'm trying to draw. I'm trying to force myself to get better at drawing from all different angles. Okay, so now the question is, how do I want to do this? Well, this I think should be done the other way. So we're going to put that up like that. Cool beans. And I suppose in this case, because it's such a close-up, we should probably delineate his eyebrows as well. Okay. Okay. So here's what we're going to do. We're going to go... how am I going to do... actually, so let's start over. I'm having to think in reverse here. Actually, the thing to do would be to do it two pieces at a time. Go Control C. Paste them in. And then this Control C, Control V. Yeah, very good. V. I wonder why. It's very strange the way the underlying pencils interfere with the ink. Especially considering that we're specifically in overall mode, so everything I'm painting should be on top no matter what. Now it seems to be. No, it's still got some winkiness right there, doesn't it? Okay, let's grab the red. And we're probably going to need some of that in the hair borders. Yep, let's go to the B key. Grab that. Alright, B key. Close that. Close that. Oops. Got her little, I guess you call it a barrette thing. Alright, and then we got a few details here that are like a few details too many, I'd say. Aha! Now we don't need to worry about that border because this is just more of her hair in the back. Okay, how's that look? Well, got a little issue here. Okay. So, final answer? RetroGirl? Don't give up on OpenTunes. Man, it's super cool. Wait a second. Aha! My Blender sequence is out of sync. This is going to be fun. Isn't this fun? Alright, File, Save All. And with that, I am DONE done. It's been 2 hours. It's time for a break. Thanks for watching.